Stephan Papadakis. We're here at the NHRA drag races today. Not really interested in so much the racing or who's going to win the event. I really just want to look at what the tech is here. So we're going to go through the pits and we're going to see what we can find that's interesting to look at, and I'll try to describe it as much as possible. So starting with one, top fuel and funny car engines are held in with hose clamps. You'd think they might have some highly exotic mounting system, but no, it's just hose clamps. This is one of those cases where experience and tradition probably rules. Once the engine is placed, they can put it in the proper position and just put the hose clamps on. Done. It's not very exotic, but it is simple, and simplicity rules in drag racing. Pro stock, top fuel, and funny cars all use carbon brakes. That means that the brake rotors and the pads are made from all carbon, similar to Formula 1 brakes. Carbon brakes are lighter, have more stopping power, and handle heat better than traditional brakes. They're actually so important that NHRA mandates that all pro stock, top fuel, and funny cars use carbon brakes. It's actually a rule. One downside of the carbon brakes is that they don't work well until they're up to temperature. On drag race cars, when you first press on the brake, they're totally cold, right? Because they don't get to warm up the brakes. So the brakes don't work very well initially. You have to wait a few moments for the heat to build up, and then the brake pedal feels like it's starting to fall below your foot. Or in the case of top fuel or funny cars, they have a handbrake lever for braking, no actual brake pedal. Top fuels don't even have front brakes, just rear. There's stories of racers crashing their cars when carbon brakes first came out because they didn't know that when you press on the pedal, you have to wait a moment when it's cold for the carbon to come up to temp, and they pressed too hard on the brakes and they locked up the tires and crashed the car. I've actually driven with carbon brakes on my last two drag cars, and they're definitely superior to traditional brakes. And for going over 200 miles an hour and over 300 for the fuel cars, I can see why they mandate carbon brakes. These cars are so finely tuned that they actually wait until the final moments before they go to the staging lanes to put the final tune-up in the car. There'll be a crew guy that's going up to the line and on the track and seeing what the condition of the track is and what the other cars have run. So the fuel cars will adjust the blower pressure, and they'll do that with different size pulleys that go on the blower. They'll even adjust the clutch settings like right there in the staging lanes. The pro stocks will do things like adjust the two-step rev limiter. One of the top fuel crew chiefs told me that on a cold day, when the weather is good for making more power, they'll actually put a puller on the blower that will make it less boost so they don't spin the tires. They don't have trouble making power, it's getting the power to the track that's the magic in all the setup. Top fuel and funny cars don't have transmissions. They have an engine with a multi-plate clutch, then it goes straight into the rear end. All the cars have the same 3.20 rear end ratio. So instead of shifting gears, they slip the clutch pretty much the whole way down the track. The way that they do that is with timers and with weights on the fingers, and it adjusts how much the clutch gets engaged going down the track. They do have a part called a reverser, so they can back up the car from their burnout. Due to the enormous strain on the clutch, they rebuild it each run. Pro stock cars use a shifter called a vertigate. It only upshifts and has 5 gears. The teams are always trying to optimize their gearing, so each team has hundreds of different gear ratios to choose from.
So the burnout, you roll into the water box, your first, second, third. You start your burnout in third, fourth, fifth. After you burn it, you drop it into neutral. You stop, pull it into reverse, back up, put it back in first to the stage. And then second, third, fourth, fifth. You go through 5 gears in 4 seconds.
All the pro drag cars have a 1-inch wheelbase stagger. One of the front wheels is set back 1 inch from the other side. It's the maximum allowed by the rules. This helps to lower lapse times in qualifying due to the longer rollout when the car goes to the staging beam. The way the staging beams work, when it rolls in, it cuts the beam, and when it reconnects is when the timer starts. So the longer they can roll out or get a little head start and the car starts moving before that beam reconnects, they have more, like, basically a little bit of a head start before the timer starts. The top fuel and funny cars have external starters that they hook up to the blower. The batteries for the starters are mounted on the golf carts. They even have a spare starter in case one fails.
I like the glasses.
Top fuel and funny cars have no suspension. The parts are just straight up bolted to the chassis. They can get away with that because the tracks are pretty smooth and the large tires and chassis work to handle the bumps on the track.
Hey, so thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun filming today. I was actually talking to a lot of the crew chiefs and some of the crew and fact checking some of the statements that I made on the video, so thanks to them. And if you want to see more of this, please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.